Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. I am absolutely beyond excited for today's deep dive because, well, we are taking a highly anticipated, seriously versatile piece of gaming hardware and breaking it down piece by piece. You know, if you've ever found yourself just staring at your desk, wondering if your setup is actually what's holding back your gameplay, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are doing a complete chapter-by-chapter review of the Razer Naga V3 Pro gaming mouse.
So here is the classic gamer's dilemma. For years, we've essentially had to choose our weapon based on one specific genre. If you play MMOs, you know you gotta buy a bulky, heavy mouse covered in a dozen buttons. But then, when you switch over to a fast-paced first-person shooter, that same mouse feels like a literal brick dragging across your mousepad, right? So what do? You buy a second, ultra-lightweight, sleek mouse just for shooters. It's expensive, it clutters up your desk, and frankly, it's just annoying. Today, we're going to see if the Razer Naga V3 Pro has finally solved this problem.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We've got a structured breakdown for you today. We'll start with Chapter 1, Unmatched Modularity, then move into Precision and Control, hit Wireless Endurance, and wrap it all up with the final verdict.
All right, kicking things off with Chapter 1, Unmatched Modularity. Basically, 3 mice in 1.
Now, the core identity of the Naga V3 Pro isn't static. It's practically a shapeshifter. The secret sauce here is the swappable magnetic side plates. You actually get 3 completely different layouts right in the box: a 12-button plate, a 6-button plate, and a 2-button plate. And the best part? You don't need any tools, no software restarts, nothing. They just snap on and off in seconds using these really strong magnets. You are literally changing the physical layout and the ergonomic feel of the mouse on the fly, depending entirely on what you're playing.
And this brilliantly illustrates why that matters. That 12-button layout is an absolute dream for MMOs. If you're out there raiding in World of Warcraft or running complex dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV, you know ability bloat is a very real thing. You've got dozens of spells, macros, items, and they all need to be triggered instantly. Having a full 12-button grid resting right under your thumb is absolutely crucial for executing those complex ability rotations without ever having to take your fingers off your movement keys.
But say you want to switch things up and jump into League of Legends or Dota 2. Suddenly, a 12-button grid is total overkill, right? It can actually lead to misclicks during frantic teamfights. So you just snap on the 6-button plate. This layout is the perfect middle ground. It gives you instant access to your crucial summoner spells, your active items, and your pings for fast-paced MOBAs, all arranged in a way that's incredibly intuitive to just navigate entirely by touch.
Finally, when it is time to boot up Counter-Strike or Valorant, bam! You snap on the 2-button plate. This instantly strips away all that extra bulk. You get this streamlined, lightweight feel with a really nice, large, rubberized thumb grip. It fundamentally transforms the Naga into a traditional, nimble FPS mouse. It's exactly what you need for those low DPI, wide-sweeping arm movements, and twitch reactions required for tactical shooters.
Let's move to Chapter 2, Precision and Control, and see how this builds by translating those raw hardware specs into actual gameplay.
We know the outside of the mouse is wildly adaptable, but what about the inside? Well, 50K. 50,000. I just want to drop this massive number right here to grab your attention, because it perfectly sets the stage for the optical sensor running the whole show.
We are talking about the Focus Pro 50K Optical Sensor Gen 3. Now let's translate that dense hardware jargon into what it actually means for you as a player. 50,000 DPI is staggering sensitivity, for sure, but the real star of the show here is that 99.8% resolution accuracy. It literally means that whether you are micro-adjusting a sniper scope by a single pixel or wildly flicking your wrist across the mat, you get absolute pinpoint accuracy. The tracking never stutters, it never skips, and it remains perfectly steady even during those intense marathon gaming sessions.
But your control doesn't just stop at the sensor. Depending on which side plate you're rocking, you are mastering up to 23 fully programmable buttons. And what's really unique here is the placement. The Naga V3 Pro features a lockable ring finger button plus 2 highly accessible edge buttons right next to the left click. This is a game changer because it means you can map instant macros or set up a temporary DPI shift for sniping without ever having to adjust your primary grip on the mouse.
And honestly, we can't talk about control without mentioning the Hyperscroll Tilt Wheel Gen 2. This scroll wheel physically adapts to your needs on the fly. Say you need to precisely swap weapons one by one, you use the notched tactile mode. But if you need to quickly fly down a massive inventory menu, or, let's be real, scroll through a massive PDF while you're supposed to be working, you can just toggle it into a smooth free spin mode.
There's even a smart reel mode that actually automatically switches between the two based on how fast you flick the wheel. All right, on to Chapter 3, Wireless Endurance, taking a look at tri-mode connectivity.
Now, what's really interesting here is dealing with the absolute worst nightmare of any gamer, having your wireless mouse just die mid-match. It's the worst. So the juxtaposition in battery life here is pretty incredible. When you're gaming on the hyperspeed wireless connection for that ultra-low latency, you get an impressive 155 hours. But flip it over to standard Bluetooth for everyday tasks, and it stretches out to a marathon 280 hours. You are essentially getting weeks of use without ever having to even look at a charging cable. Which brings us to the final verdict, evaluating the value equation. Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room right away. We have to put this premium price tag right up front. At $179.99, this is undeniably an investment. It is definitely not an entry-level peripheral.
So the crucial point is looking at this value equation objectively. Yes, $179.99 is steep for a mouse, but you got to remember, you aren't really buying one mouse. With those 12, 6, and 2-button plates, you are effectively buying 3 distinct, top-tier mice tailored perfectly to 3 completely different genres. You're getting flawless 50K DPI tracking that rivals any dedicated esports mouse out there. And it's all backed up by incredibly high reviewer praise, sitting at a phenomenal 9.2 rating on GadgetFlow. When you consolidate 3 premium peripherals into one sleek package, the math actually starts to make a lot of sense.
So, what does this all mean? I want to leave you with this final question to consider. Does this versatile powerhouse deserve a spot on your desk? Think about it. Evaluate your own gaming habits. If you play strictly one game genre and literally never deviate, well, maybe you don't need this level of adaptability. But if you're the kind of player who raids in WoW on Tuesday, ranks up in Valorant on Thursday, and then grinds League on the weekend, this all-in-one solution might just be the absolute best upgrade your setup has ever seen. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Total control, no matter what world you are diving into. The Naga V3 Pro is just a masterclass in modular engineering. I highly encourage you to keep exploring, read up on those user reviews, and see if this shape-shifting companion is the missing piece for your own library. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.